Hi, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel. Many of you viewers ask me if I have any beginners sewing tutorials, and the answer is yes, I do. I have many. So I'm going to show you some simple and inexpensive projects you can make using 18-inch by 22-inch pieces of fabric called fat quarters. And those fat quarters are available in a lot of fabric shops. So there's not going to be a hard time finding them. But I want to let you know though that I live out in the desert, in the middle of nowhere basically. All we have is a little Walmart here with some fabric stuff in it, not a lot. So I have to drive a long distance to get to fabric shops to get the supplies that I need to make the tutorials. So to help pass the time on these long drives is that we listen to audiobooks on Audible. We really enjoy it. And we also like to, well, I like to go to quilt shops. My husband doesn't like it so much because I spend too much money. But anyway, we're planning a road trip this summer to visit quilt shops. And we're also going to go to Yellowstone National Park. And on Audible, I found an audio tour book of Yellowstone National Park. So while we're driving through the park, we can listen and learn all about Yellowstone, because I've always wanted to go there since I was a little girl, because my parents didn't take me on the trip that they went on. They took my brother, but not me. Oh well, I digress. But anyway, so we're going to visit quilt shops, we're going to drive through Yellowstone, and while we're driving to quilt shops, we can listen to other audiobooks on Audible. We love the fact that Audible has thousands of titles and tons of subjects that you can listen to. It's really a lot of fun. To give Audible a try, you want to go to audible.com/The Sewing Room Channel or text The Sewing Room Channel to 500-500. I'm going to say it one more time. Go to audible.com/The Sewing Room Channel or text The Sewing Room Channel to 500-500. So now let's get started on those easy beginners fat quarter sewing projects. Here are some samples of fat quarters. You can buy them individually like these three here. And by the way, fat quarters come in all types of prints, and you can also buy them in solids. You can also get them in fat quarter packs like this. These particular packs have 5 different prints. What's nice about the fat quarter packs is they are all coordinated colors. They all work together, so you know you can't go wrong. So if you have a hard time coordinating fabrics, if you pick out fat quarters, all that work is done for you. To buy your fat quarters, I bought a lot of these at Walmart, but not all Walmart stores have fat quarters. You can also get them at Joann Fabrics and Crafts. You can go on the internet and also purchase them there. I'm going to show you how to make a basic fabric napkin. Your fat quarters are typically 18 inches wide by 22 inches long. You want to square the fat quarter up. So I squared mine up into a rectangle shape, 17.5 inches by 21.5 inches. When I'm making a lot of napkins, I stack the fabrics on top of each other. I use a rotary cutter, a rotary cutting ruler, and a rotary cutting mat to help me cut everything out. It goes really, really fast. You just put the ruler on the correct line on the cutting mat, and then you can cut your fabric very quickly. After cutting your fabric, then you want to go and take 2 opposite edges of each other, and you're going to fold it over 1/4 inch and press it all the way down to the other end. Then fold it again 1/4 inch and press it all the way down. And again, you do that on opposite sides. So I'm going to go to the opposite side right here. I've already folded and pressed it. Then you're going to stitch close to the edge of this inside folded area all the way down from end to end. So when you're done, your edges should look like this on opposite sides, remember. Now go to your other two opposite edges and fold it over once and press all the way down side to side, and then fold and press again all the way down side to side. Now I'm going to go over here to the opposite edge. Then you're going to stitch again close to this edge. Now on these two sides, you want to back stitch at the beginning and then at the end of your stitch. So here's one that I've completed. So here you can see all of the edges. This is the back side, and then of course here is the front side. So I usually just do a simple fold on mine. I don't usually do anything fancy. I just fold it in half. I bring the two shorter edges together, and then I fold it in half again like this, and smooth it out, and then fold it in half one more time. Now this one here came from a fat quarter pack. Aren't these beautiful? I bought this fat quarter pack at Walmart, and it was under $6 for all of these. So you got five napkins. If you want to make more, then of course you can buy 2 fat quarters, and it's a very inexpensive way to have really nice dinner napkins. Now I'm going to demonstrate how to do a very basic placemat, and I love doing placemats because, you know, they get dirty, they get old, and you want to make new ones, and they're just so much fun to make them for different seasons of the year and different holidays. Again, I like the fat quarters because I can make my placemats two-sided. So you're going to need, for just one placemat, you'll need 2 fat quarters. Then you're also going to need 1 piece of heavy iron-on interfacing. You're going to cut all 3 pieces 15.5 inches by 18.5. And again, to make things go faster in the cutting part of it, I stack everything together and just do 1 set of cuts all at one time. Then you're going to take 1 of your fat quarters, and you're going to fuse the interfacing on the back side. This is the pretty side, so you're going to put it on the back side. It's really simple process to do. I don't even feel the need to demonstrate it. Just follow package instructions. You'll need to have a damp cloth and a hot iron with steam. You're going to let the iron rest on the top of the interfacing for about 12 to 15 seconds and keep moving it around till you have it all fused together. So here's the interfacing side. So I'm going to put that side against the table. And here's the pretty side of my fabric. I'm going to have it facing up. Then I'm going to take my other piece of fat quarter, and I'm going to take the pretty side, the front side of the fabric, and face it down. And then you're going to just place pins around all 4 sides, all over. You want to indicate an opening right here that's large enough for your hand to go through. So you won't stitch over this part at all. So you're going to always back stitch on each side of your opening. So you're going to start on this side of the opening, and you're going to begin stitching a 1/4 inch wide seam. And you can put a piece of tape on your machine onto your throat plate where that 1/4 inch is, and keep the edge of your fabric up against that piece of tape. So back stitch here first, then stitch down to this corner. When you get 1/4 inch away from this corner, leave your needle down through the fabric, lift the presser foot, turn your fabric, and then begin stitching down the next side. So you want to go all the way around all 4 edges. And when you come back here, you backstitch here. On my sewing machine, I already have little markings to indicate where the different seam widths are. So here's this solid line right here is where my needle is lined up at. Then over here I have that 1/4 inch line. If you don't have the 1/4 inch line, then just take a ruler and lay it right up here so to see how far out that 1/4 inch line is. And then just take some masking tape and lay it right there, and then you would just keep your fabric edge right up against the tape. Now trim some of the fabric off at the corner. I trim it down to about 1/8 of an inch wide. So I'm just going to cut across this way, and then I'm going to take just a tiny bit off on each side like that. So you're going to do it at all 4 corners. Now reach in between your 2 pieces of fabric, your 2 fat quarters, and begin turning it front side out. And I usually go to the corners first and just begin pulling it out. After you turn it front side out, you want to reach inside the opening and poke your corners out. Now, if your corners aren't coming out too pointed like you would like them to, you could take something like this and gently poke. Don't poke too hard because you'll poke right through your fabric. Or you could use scissors. I don't like doing that because I believe scissors will poke right through there. Sometimes you can take a little straight pin and just kind of pull it out gently, and that helps too. Then give it a wonderful pressing. Make sure your edges are nice and flat all over. Then at your opening, you want to fold those opening edges inside 1/4 inch. Then take pins and place a few pins across there to hold it all in place. After you've done that, then you want to stitch close to the edge all the way around all 4 edges. And remember that little trick: when you come to a corner, leave your needle down, lift up the presser foot, and then turn your fabric. Okay, it's all done. Here it is on one side, and now let me show you the other side. And what's so nice about using different fabric on the other side is that if one side is stained, or you just get tired, or maybe you have 2 themes, you have Christmas on one side, Thanksgiving on the other. Now let's move on to a really basic shoulder bag. This shoulder bag only needs 1 fat quarter. And then you're also going to need some heavy iron-on interfacing again. And again, I'm using the Pellon. What I recommend you do is you take your fat quarter and fold it in half and cut both pieces out at the same time. You're going to cut them 10.5 by 17.5 inches, and you'll need to cut out the interfacing the same size. Now here's the fat quarter that I'm using. I've already cut it into 2 pieces. On one of the pieces, you're going to fuse your heavy iron-on interfacing on. And again, follow the package instructions. Then bring both pieces together. So this is the front side of the fabric. It's also referred to as right side and pretty side. You'll hear all 3 of those terms. So I'm bringing them together like that. So I'm now looking at the interfacing side of my bag. On one end, you're going to round the edges. And how I do that is I have these little circle templates that I purchased. You don't need to use these, but if you want to buy them, they're made by June Taylor. You can get them at Joann Fabrics and Crafts, or just take a large lid from a bottle or some round container and set it up to where the edges of the circle hit the edges of the circle hit the edge of your fabric. Then take a pencil or fabric marker and trace around it. And you want to do it on 2 corners. Place pins on all 4 edges. You're going to leave a very wide opening down here. So place one pin over here, 1.5 inches from this edge over, and do the same thing over here, 1.5 inches over, put a pin. These are your start and stop points to stitch. Begin stitching over here and back stitch. Stitch a 1/4 inch seam, stitch down to this corner. Again, do that trick where you leave the needle down through the fabric, turn your fabric, and stitch all the way around. Now, when you get to where you hit this line here, this curved line, just stitch right on top of that line, and when you're a 1/4 inch away over here, then continue stitching down here. If you need to measure and put a little dot, a little mark there to remind you where that 1/4 inch is, feel free to do that also. And you're going to do that all the way around, and then you're going to stop down here at this last pin and back stitch. At your 2 rounded corners, you want to trim some of the fabric off to where it is about a 1/4 of an inch wide. Then after you do that, you want to do short little clips all around that curved edge. Make sure you don't cut through your stitch line. This helps the fabric to lay smoother once you turn it front side out. And don't forget to trim off your other 2 corners. Trim that fabric down to a 1/8 inch wide. Then you're going to reach inside of your opening and turn it front side out. After turning it front side out, reach inside the opening and poke your 2 corners out here, and then from the inside push against this round corner to push it out nice and round. Then go ahead and give the entire bag a good pressing. To make the straps, take your second fat quarter and cut out 3 strips that are 3 inches wide by 22 inches long. Then take them and you're going to bring front sides together and stitch a 1/4 inch seam. So stitch all 3 together in one long chain. Then you'll finger press those seams open or do it at your ironing board. Then to fold the strip into the strap, you're first going to take your piece of fabric and fold it in half and press it all the way down. Then bring the sides into that center fold line and press again all the way down. And then fold it one more time like that and press. Then after you've got it all pressed, here's my strap, you're going to stitch close to the edge on each side all the way down from end to end. Now I'm going to show you how to place the strap on your bag. Remember the opening up here at one end? You're going to take each end of the strap and fold it right inside like this, right up against the edge of the opening. So remember how you stop stitching at 1.5 inches from this side? That's so that you can slip this in there. And then of course put a pin in there to hold it. And place the other end in the same way. And then place pins across your opening. So place several pins there. And then pin it straight up here, making sure it's 1.5 inches away from this edge. You're going to stop 4.5 inches from here, where your curved edges are. You're going to stop right there pinning. I put 2 pins here to know that this is where I stop stitching. So I'm just going to move this a little bit. You're going to start stitching here, back stitch, then come up this one side of the strap all the way up to here. Turn your fabric, always leave that needle down through your fabric when you want to turn it, and back stitch several times right up here. Then turn your fabric again and stitch all the way down here. Then you're going to go over to this side and do the same thing, same way. Then when you're done with that, stitch across this edge to close it all up. So here's what it looks like when it's all stitched on. Now I'm going to turn it over. This is the outside of the bag. This is the inside of the bag. You're going to fold up this bottom edge where it has the corners, the straight corners, and fold it up about 6 inches. Okay, yours might be a little different. Then you're going to take this one and fold it over about 4 1/4 inches so that it looks like this. So I'm going to flip it over this way. So your 2 places here should not wind up on the front here. They should be just staying in the back where you stitched it down. So I'm going to flip it back over this way. So now that you've got it all folded the way you want it, open this back up, pin these edges down on both sides, pin it down. Then stitch about 1/8 inch away from this edge up here and back stitch up here. And then go over to this side and do the same thing. Stitch up about 1/8 inch and make sure you back stitch. I'm going to show you how to put a snap closure on. Now there's all types of snaps out there, so you can use any snap of your choice. I'm using this little kit, and there's really no name to this kit. I went on Amazon and looked for snaps, and this is what I saw. And you get all these different colors. They're plastic snaps, plus it includes the tool kit. So you want to take this little tool right here, and I folded this bag over, and I put a hole, punched a hole where I thought I would want my snap to be, and I went through it. Then I went on down to here, kind of did a little bit of an indentation, and then pulled it out, and I could see it right there. And I'm going to reach in through here and poke a hole through this part. So you have to have your holes poked first. As far as your snaps go, you need 2 of these top pieces right here. Okay, they look like this. Then these other flatter looking pieces, one is a male, one is a female, so that they can go into each other. That's how they refer to it. So I'm going to take, and it doesn't matter which end of the bag you put the male and female on. So I'm going to take this, and this one has to go from the inside of the bag. So give me a moment while I push it up underneath. Here's my snap. The little pointy thing is sticking out through there. I'm going to take either the male or female, it doesn't matter which one, and I'm going to put it on top and just sort of press it down a little bit. Then take this tool here, and you're just going to kind of have to scrunch it up in the bag a little bit. So slip it under there like this and push against it. So you want to make sure that the snap is centered under this thing right here, and then you just want to push down real hard, real hard, and I just kind of hold it there for a minute, and then release, and then it's all set up. Okay, so that one's on. Now you're going to go to this end over here where your other hole is, and this time you're going to take the piece with the pointy thing on it, stick it through this end, alrighty, and poke it all the way through, and then take your other male or female, it doesn't matter which one, you just have to make sure you have one of each, put it on there so it looks like that, and then center it just like you did before and squash it down. And then and you just take it and snap it closed. So here's the front side, and then let me turn it over, and this is the back side. Really easy project to do. Well, there you go. You have 3 beginners projects. They won't take you very long at all, and they're very inexpensive and also very practical. So I hope you learned something by watching this tutorial. And also, if you're interested in looking at other beginner tutorials, make sure you check below your YouTube screen for those video links. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, and make sure you check out my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and happy sewing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click on the thumbs up button. And don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, click on that red subscribe button down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Click on the bell so you can receive notifications about my latest videos. I'm Cheryl, and this is Scotty, and this is Manny. See you next time, and happy sewing!